machine. Let me tell you Calvin's Odyssey. When he was 8 years old, he had worked at this mine called the Dream Mine. A Mormon bishop had this dream that there was gold in them there hills, and he was going to go find it. And the angels told him exactly where to dig, and they told him all these neat things. They said, when you get so many feet in, you're going to hit water, so make sure you dig a trench to take the water out. So when they got shy 2 feet of that, he said, stop and dig the trench. And the men said, there's no water in this hill. You know, we're hundreds of feet into this mountain and there's no water veins. He said, dig the trench. And they did. And the angel had told them exactly how big to dig the trench. So he made them dig it exactly that deep. And when they broke through, the water flooded and the trench filled up to exactly that height. I mean, within a fraction of an inch of coming to the right height. And it still flows there today. It's an artesian spring that runs out of that mine. But Calvin's dad worked at the Dream Mine, and so he would go up there on the weekends when he wasn't in school. And one day this old man walked on the property and he said, my name's Al Sinclair. Does that name ring a bell with anyone? If you've read anything about Knights Templars, it should say a lot. Sinclair. Yeah. He said, my name is Al Sinclair. And he said, I've come to show you how to grow plants. They said, excuse us, we're miners, not farmers. And he literally stayed for 10 years, and he raised this little boy. On the weekends and during the summer, Al taught Calvin. And one of the things they did was they built this machine. He built this machine, and he would charge the ground with it. And wherever the machine hit the ground, the voltage from the machine hit the ground, the trees and the plants and the vegetables, they would increase their yield 6 times and their size 3 times. Well, at the end of the 10 years, Calvin was 18 and graduating and going on to college. Al said, well, my time's up here. And he put on his hat and he said goodbye to them. He didn't have a car, he didn't have anything. He walked off the property. Now, he's an old timer. And the miners said, we can't just let him go like that. We've got to go stop him, you know. We should help him and be there for him. So they went down off the property to chase him, and he got to the edge of the property and he was gone. And they searched for years to find him, and they never found him again. So when Calvin was 35, he'd been an engineer for some time. He got to thinking about his experiences when he was young. And he went back to he went and got his dad and said, remember that old guy? Do you think we can find those machines? They went back to the mine and dug the machine off the junk heap and took it home, and Calvin built another one just like it right next to it. And he started playing with it. Now the electricity that came off of that machine was really incredible. It wouldn't go point to point. It wouldn't go from here to here. It would meander, and it would take a roundabout curve. Or instead of getting to its point, it would kind of come in at an angle. And they couldn't figure this out. And every time he tried to get it to go to a battery, it would jump to something else. It could go through anything. It would blast through glass. It blasted out the biggest resistors they had. They took the resistors off the power poles and literally put them in the machine, and it would go right through it. And well, they finally said, what kind of resistor can we use for this machine? And Calvin said, well, distilled water is the best resistor in the world. So they got some distilled water, put it in a real heavy, thick glass, and stuck it into the machine. And lo and behold, now the electricity followed the path and went right through the distilled water. Just tamed it down perfectly. Well, he did his experiments, thinking he's going to come up with a new form of energy. And that night when he clipped off the machine, he was cleaning out the shop. It was hot, July, Utah, you know. So he grabs a glass of water and he drinks it, and he gets a shock. Static buildup, puts it down, finishes sweeping the floor, comes back, and he gets another one. He says, that shouldn't happen, that's really weird. Goes in the house, he's a diabetic, so he takes his blood sugar, and it's down from 360 to 240. That's strange, what happened there, you know? The next day he did the same thing, recreated the same experiment. Now his friends are coming over. You know, they visit on Sunday, and friends come over, and he says, here, have a glass of water. You know? And he's giving people shocks all over, and they're laughing. He puts it back in the machine, and so it's a big kick. But the same thing happens that day. He takes and drinks the water before he goes into bed at night, and his blood sugar's down to 120. And now he draws the parallel, and he says, oh my gosh. So a friend of his came over to get some machinery done, machined, because he had a big machine shop there. And this man had fallen off a scaffolding and had his spine compressed. And he couldn't straighten up anymore. And he said, I'm in pain all the time, and I'm going to be in a wheelchair before long. He said, my back's degenerating at 6% every 6 months. So Calvin gives him a glass of water, and by the end of the day, he's going like this, and he can straighten his back. He said, I can't believe it, I can straighten up. So he comes back the next day with a gallon jug, and he says, fill it up. So they charge the water in the machine, pour it in the jug, charge and pour it in the jug. Now, remember, now there is no shock in this jug that he's going to drink at home. Okay, so it's not the shock that's making the change in the body. Something is actually happening to the water that's changing the water so that it has an effect on the body. Well, he drank 3 of those jugs before his next MRI. His spine had regenerated 36%. Today, he rides his motorcycle, he's gone back to work, he has no back pain, he has no problems at all, his spine is perfectly normal. He gives it to a lady with a tumor behind her eye. They're going to take the eye out. They say she's got an appointment in 10 days to have the operation, to have the eye removed and the tumor and everything. And she takes the glass of water in the house and drinks it. And she says, my gosh, I can see light and dark out of that eye again. Before the operation came, before the 10 days passed, the tumor was completely gone and she had full vision back in her eye. Gave it to a lady who had arthritis in her hands and they were gnarly and she couldn't open her fingers anymore. And within 6 months, her hands were perfectly straight. She knitted him an Afghan to say thank you. It was experiences like that, one after another, that we witnessed over the time I was there with this water. Well, the stuff that we were learning, and I've just touched on a few of the high spots, the things that we were learning that year were so incredible that eventually Calvin, being an engineer and very grounded in the earth, said, this is all too magical and too woo for me. I am out of here. He put everything in storage, closed up his house, and left. And he left me and Vernon standing in the driveway. And he said, whoa, that was a ride. Now what are we going to do?